Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Holding Court with the Empress West Hollywood. My name is NiK Miller, your Empress Of WeHo, and we're so excited to have you with us today! We want to give a special thank you to our amazing producers, GayLifeLA.com, as well as Kings Road Apartment Homes for the amazing space you see here today. I want to thank my extra special guest who's here today, fashion designer, NiK Kacy! Hi! We're so excited to have NiK here! And NiK has an amazing company all about gender equal footwear, but also accessories as well, and really kind of giving people the freedom of expression for whatever they want to identify as, and really just kind of having some options to do that. And before we get into all the fascination of this beautiful brand, let's talk a little bit of kind of where you kind of came from and upbringing, and kind of what drew you into fashion and design. So you're originally from Hong Kong.
Correct. Born there.
Born in Hong Kong. Yeah. What is, like, a lot of people obviously have never really been on to the Asian side of the country and never really seen that. For people going and kind of getting an experience of what Hong Kong is really like, what was that experience like for you? And kind of give us a little bit of a first-hand tour of living in Hong Kong and in Asia like that.
Well, I mean, Hong Kong's very different now since the takeover from China, which happened in '97.
Right.
And I lived in Hong Kong in the '70s, right? So it was very different then. And growing up, it was definitely, still just as congested. A lot of people,
right.
Different culture, totally.
Right.
Completely different culture. I grew up speaking Cantonese.
Okay.
And then when I was 7, I kind of moved to New York. So my memory of Hong Kong is really like from being like this tiny.
Yeah, right. Right.
So my worldview then was so different. So when I think about it, it's always kind of like this perspective of like looking up at the world.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
and do you ever get a chance to go back and visit?
I did go back in '97 actually after I graduated from college, and I lived in Singapore for a little bit.
Oh wow.
And then went to Hong Kong on my way back to LA.
Gotcha.
When I realized that home was really where the heart is, and my heart was in LA.
It's Los Angeles, baby.
Yeah. So yeah. And
for you, when you think of the differences between the U.S. and Hong Kong, do you draw a lot of inspiration from your heritage at all, or is it just kind of flavored in there just naturally?
I think, it's funny you asked that because my first collection was called Fortune.
Okay.
And the red detail that's in all of my designs is actually very much ingrained into my heritage. Which in the Chinese culture, red is something that really brings a lot of very good fortune.
Okay.
It was a color that, was very royal. And so it was just something that I really... it spoke to me.
Gotcha.
And I drew from that.
That's amazing. And it's really cool when you get to pull parts of things that you grew up and that are part of your history and your family, and really be able to tie that into your artwork, which is really just kind of fascinating. So now, let's talk about how did you get into fashion and what really inspired you to become a designer?
Well, the irony is actually my background is not in fashion at all.
Okay.
I was an art major, so my background is artistic and creative.
Gotcha.
But I was like a painter, a sculptor, and fashion was something that as a kid I really loved to doodle.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly because out of my own desire to wear men's clothes.
Okay.
So as a kid, I already knew that I was in the wrong body. I was born in the wrong body, and when I would look at men or
masculine.
Yeah, like I would be like, why don't I get to be that way?
Right.
And so as a kid, I would daydream and just draw a lot of male characters with like male clothing and suits, things like that.
Yeah.
But shoes was not something that I was really a designer of. It was more of an admirer of.
Okay.
I was like a shoe whore. So
we're all good shoe whores around here.
I'm speaking to my crowd here.
Yes.
Yeah, but like on the street, I would see like guys with awesome shoes, and I'd always be like, "Where did you get them?" And then always like I couldn't find them in my size.
True. And
I realized that was a common pain point for so many people like myself who identified more masculine or was trans or in that whole spectrum of masculinity, but could never find shoes that really fit their identity.
Exactly. And specifically for you, do you specifically identify as gender non-binary or gender queer?
How I identify now is I'm trans-masculine.
Trans-masculine, okay.
But also non-binary.
Gotcha.
Because I really want to break away from myself. I can't speak for other people, but for myself, I want to break away from having to define myself in this binary.
Right,
because
exactly.
I feel like I encompass so much more than that.
Yes, and honestly, when it comes to sexuality nowadays, labels really aren't so specific and defining. They're just guidelines as to general ideals that we have. And for a lot of people, it changes on a daily basis.
Yeah, and sexuality and identity are also very separate.
Very separate. And also there's sexual expression, which is completely different as well. And a lot of people, unfortunately, make the misconception that being transgender is the same as being non-binary, and it's completely different. And yes, you can be non-binary, be transgender, but not always the same thing. So I was at an amazing presentation for TransCon work that they did with a lot of different local businesses here, and having executives there getting education on diversity training and understanding the different aspects of the different parts of the community when it comes to gender neutral or gender fluid and all that stuff. And it's really fascinating to know that we're not all nowadays just one A, B, or C. We are D squared to the umpteenth billion power. It is just so beautifully fluid, and I really love when people just get out and just express who they are. And so really this is tied very heavily into your artistic and creative design. Obviously with everything you are wearing here today, which is stunning. I love this, and it's a holster or a harness? It's holster, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can call it either way, because the harness, I think, is just...
has more of that strap across.
Yeah, or or maybe the definition for me as a harness is something that just is binding to your body.
Got it, okay.
Whereas for me, like a holster is something that carries something.
Gotcha, makes sense. Okay, and then the shoes, we're all shoes. We are all about the shoes around here. And really, it's kind of been the focal point of the collection with your shoes. I love that you brought up your original one, which was kind of the masculine of center. It was kind of that one, and then you did one after with the masculine or the femininity of center, what was more high heels style.
Yeah, and that's actually not even out yet because it's been so challenging trying to create a whole new collection that is high heel based but gender free in size.
Yeah.
A lot of companies really didn't want to work with me because they're very stuck in this old mentality of
where it's A or B, exactly.
Only for women.
Right.
And I'm like, well.
Have you been to a drag show? Have you been to anywhere else in this community around here where anyone and everyone wears it? So for you, what I know you said you were drawn to just kind of the fact that, first of all, there was nothing available to you as an individual for shoes that you liked. But for really specifically developing collections for gender neutrality, what was your initial inspiration on trying to come up with a collection like that?
Well, like for my first collection, it was masculine presenting because that's what I did.
Yeah, that's right.
So it was really about my own need. And so I started designing basically everything I've always wanted to wear but couldn't find.
Right.
And was like, well, if I get to wear it, then I want everyone to be able to have access to it.
Right.
Too. And then from there, it was really about, well, now that I've kind of satiated my own needs, I also want to further the idea that I have for a vision where we have a world where everyone can wear whatever they want, whenever they want, and not be confined to these restricted ideals, right? And so for me, it was really about like the goal of the company is to be gender equal.
Right.
So therefore, the natural progression would be to create something that was gender free, so that people can be truly gender equal.
Right.
So I just started designing stuff for the new collection, which I will hopefully be able to reveal at this fashion show.
Which will be really excited. Which this fashion show will talk a little bit more about it. But it's in a week, so it's crazy crunch time for you. So what I'm super excited about when it comes to what you are doing to kind of redefine the concepts of what fashion is. When you kind of go along this route, what has been some of the pushback you've received from either other designers, from, like you said, from people that are manufacturers? What are some of the different aspects of the pushback you've gotten that really kind of challenge you as an artist to really think out, not even outside of your own box, but think out of the box overall and really bring a product, like you said, that caters to not just one, not any, but all and everyone in between? Yeah,
it's been an uphill battle pretty much from the get-go.
Okay.
Because I mean, when I first went to like my first shoe fair in Italy, after I quit my job, I transitioned, I had all my surgeries, and then I packed my bags and I went to Europe for 9 weeks.
Wow.
And I went to all these different international shoe fairs. I met all these different manufacturers, and basically how this all started was because I asked them, because I was like, why don't they just make more sizes?
Right, exactly.
It'd be so easy. And so I asked all of these different companies.
It's so funny, it's something so simple, would you just freaking do it?
Yeah, right? Like it would cost them literally pennies on a dollar. versus like my entire life savings to do this myself.
Exactly, it's just so funny.
But when I asked them, a lot of like literally the predominant response I got, if they were even willing to talk to me, number one, because number one I was, I've got like the trifecta of minorities,
exactly.
trans, Asian, they didn't know what to do with me.
Right.
And so for the ones that actually took the time to speak to me was like, you know what, we understand and we see that there is a niche market for this, and there's a need, but it's not worth it for us.
Okay, so they never saw money, basically. They were looking at the bottom dollar and saying, we don't see a money in this brand.
Because they don't understand our community, and so they only saw it as something that's very limited.
Right.
And what I heard was, you just told me my community doesn't matter.
Well, exactly.
Right? And so I was like, screw this, I'm going to do it myself then. And so that's what I did, and I just, went from there and started designing, and was, feverishly, sitting in my little apartment in Portugal and just designing away all the things I've ever wanted to wear. And then when I show up to all these different factories to find someone to actually work with me, most of the time they just kind of laughed. I was like, number one, you couldn't afford to be able to do this because you need to meet these minimums, or they would look at my designs or my concept and think so you want to make a man's shoe in a woman's size? I was like, that's not what I'm trying to do. Can you please
provide
take your
options?
Yeah, take your mind out of this box and thinking that this is a man's shoe.
Right.
It's a shoe. Why is there a gender associated with this shoe? It's an object.
And that's the great thing about it. I feel like you've been really instrumental in taking the gender out of the equation and really, and your whole, it's not about whether you're male or female or whatever you choose to identify as. It's about, I'm creating a product for people that like product like this and want it in that size.
Exactly.
Pure and simple.
That's it.
And so, and then coming up with the accessories as well, because again, some of those can be when it comes to metal work, when it comes to stitching, when it comes to all those different factors in that. Was it the same kind of struggle as well, trying to figure out people to kind of really get that mindset in there that this is neither masculine nor feminine, it's just, it is an item that someone should enjoy.
Yeah, and beyond that too is because a lot of my designs are very utilitarian.
Okay.
And so it was very complicated for a lot of them to even grasp what it is.
Right.
To us, maybe in our culture, in our community, we are very accustomed to what a holster is.
Well, exactly.
And a harness,
Right.
But for mainstream, old school manufacturers who make bags and purses and luggage, they're kind of I create the prototype in my own little materials and then I try to show them and they were just kind of fumbling with it because they're we don't understand how this works. Right.
Again, traditional mindsets.
Exactly. And so it's a constant uphill battle. Even when I did design the shoes, and what sets my shoes apart or what my brand is, how is my brand different is that I created a whole new last, which is the shape,
Right.
And the shape is neither female or male.
Oh no, yeah, exactly.
All shoes that exist besides children's shoes is separated between men's last and women's last.
Right.
And so they couldn't grasp that I was creating a whole new last.
Right.
That was neither. Because they're well, that's not how we make shoes. And I was well, not anymore. Because just because you've never done it before doesn't mean that that's not a way to do it.
Right.
So that really, it took a long time, and I remember, working with these last makers who have been doing this for 30, 40 years.
Wow.
And then finally I was just do it the way I asked you, and if it's wrong and it doesn't work, then I'll know.
Right.
But I'm paying for this, so just do it. Right.
Do what I say.
Yeah. And I was I respect the fact that you have so much experience and I want to learn from it.
Right.
But at the same time, for every new inventor of something, they have to make a mistake or do something different, right? So they finally was okay. So they did it, and when they finally finished the last, I remember so vividly because it was such a proud moment for me. When I went, I showed up and I was ready to look at it, and then he showed me, and I asked him, I was tell me your honest opinion, what do you think? And he just looked at me and he was it's better than I thought. And so, and you could tell everybody was kind of smiling, it ended up being a really amazing last. Mm-hmm. And to this day, even the factory that I work with in Mexico now, I had them put on the Georges, which is the new design that I just finished.
Yes.
And this is 2 generations of shoemakers, right?
Wow.
I was make one in your size, I want you to try it and tell me what you think. They put it on, and both father and son was standing around in them. I even have photos. And they were this is the most comfortable shoe I've ever worn. And they make shoes for 3 generations.
Wow.
that's another milestone for me where I was like, I know I'm doing the right thing.
Well, and it's more, and you're providing something that's not just luxurious and again the last aspect of it, but it's something that's just, I mean, it's very comfortable and it's something that you enjoy, and also and again, it's a beautiful shoe. It's something you don't associate anything other with, and it's classic, accessible, fun footwear that really again accentuates the foot like it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And when you, because this isn't neither really luxury nor like sport, it's kind of a little bit of a.
It's definitely more on the luxury.
It's obviously
it's all handmade and hand-stitched.
Definitely a little bit more, but it's not like that like crazy where it's like I see those Louboutin those shoes that are like insanity.
That's because nobody knows the name yet.
Right. Until then, and then she'll be on her hotel being like, yes, we'll be all looking fancy up on that boulevard. But for when you, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the accessories too, because they're also, again, same thing. When you're trying to come up with a concept and making a little bit more for yourself, obviously, and then what you felt like you never had there out as accessories, when you're trying to come up with, again, neutrality in an accessory, did you find it for yourself challenging, or was it just more challenging, again, to get someone else to kind of come up and understand your concept?
Definitely hard because for me, a lot of the things that I design, it's like in my head, it's perfect, right? Like I know exactly what I want to do, except I don't know how to do the actual
manufacturing of all the construction. Okay.
So having to explain that to someone, draw it in every way, and then finally building a prototype out of either paper or felt or whatever material that I have, and then being like, just this, just replicate this but in leather or whatever material.
Right.
I was very surprised at how challenging it was.
Yeah.
And even things like this holster, to this day, I think some people still don't understand how it works. I still have people who are like, so how do I adjust it? And I think for me,
it's complicated. I mean, it's there's a hole here with something that goes in the hole, and there's different holes at different parts of the thing. It's like a belt. Yeah. It's kind of pretty self-explanatory.
But I think that sometimes what it is because it's something that's new.
True.
So people don't understand because they haven't seen it before.
Right.
So they overcomplicate it in their head.
Got it.
When actually it's such a simple idea.
Oh yeah, and I mean I've seen and again I think you're right on the aspect of it's our community around here. We are so used to seeing items like this that are just kind of that, and I totally love those because it's just, again, convenience as well. You can kind of put whatever you want in there. Yeah. It's also very fashionable, and it really kind of makes it's sexy, and it's sexy in a very subdued way, but in a very way that catches your eye. You're kind of like an everyday sexy. We're just ooh, that's classic sexy. That's what I was trying to say, classic sexy, and it's really when you kind of pull that in. So you're getting all these things together. You're kind of really building up to this collection that you've really kind of finally ironed out. You've gotten it out there. Now let's talk about the response from the community. You put this product out there. You're getting the word out. What was the overall response? I mean, I feel obviously you marketed with your friends first and people that you knew felt the same way you do of not having this accessibility to stuff that really it was, again, genderless. Right. What was the overall response initially when you started putting the product out?
I think when I did my Kickstarter for the first collection, overwhelming response. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, I've waited my whole life for this."
Right.
I've built lifelong friendships with people because of this, because we just connected. We bonded. We became soul brothers.
Oh, that's cute.
SOLE, right? And it's really amazing because the journey has allowed me to learn so much about other people and other people's needs.
Right.
But it also allowed me to connect so many other people. These other people who became clients, who became friends, now are friends themselves.
Wow.
All through social media.
Yeah.
Through fashion shows. I mean, through so many things. And being able to, the reason why I feel like my company is really about the community is because it took the community to help build it. Right. So it's constantly about giving back to the community and bringing the community back together.
Fantastic. And I think honestly, it's when you get everyone working together. I mean, that's the support you need. Just get a freaking group of people like the LGBTQIA plus community involved. We are all for it, especially when it's something that really sings to our hearts. What were some of some really inspirational stories you heard from people that you got to meet that really kind of spoke to you, and you're like, oh my God, that's the same story I had. That was the exact same experience. Thank you so much for just making me feel so validated in what I'm doing.
There's so many.
I mean, like, is there one like just right off the top of your head that just like kind of pops out?
One in particular. Well, there's a lot that have so much meaning for me, just because, like I said, like I've developed such personal relationships with a lot of my clients. But one in particular is Mindy, who was one of my first original like Kickstarter backers.
Okay.
And her and her wife had already been married, but not officially legally.
Okay.
And then they were gonna get married, and then we started becoming pen pal friends, basically.
Oh, cool.
Through email. And she told me like she was gonna get married with her wife, and she would love to wear my shoes at her wedding. But at the time with my Kickstarter campaign, I didn't know, everything kept getting delayed.
Got it.
And so I didn't know if it would make it on time.
Right.
And so we connected so much through so many amazing conversations online that I just felt so determined, like, I want to make this happen for her, And so I was able to get one of her pairs done first.
Yeah.
And not only that, but I actually brought it to her. Well, I sent it to her first, but I showed up at her wedding with like two of my buddies.
Oh, that's
and and it was amazing because like her family already knew who we were.
Right.
It was like and like it was so like monumental for me to be able to like be a part of that moment.
Right.
And like when the first time she put on those shoes, I remember she wrote me. She was like, it felt like she finally could like stand properly for the first time, like stand tall,
Oh, I want to cry now. That's
yeah,
so beautiful.
It was like and we like are so close. We talk all the time. Like I feel like she's we're each other's like, mentors almost. Like where we guide each other through life and we talk about things that mean something and that we can both really relate to. That maybe we never thought we had someone to talk about.
Yeah.
Like that before.
Oh my gosh. I see a whole new collection now coming out that's called Soulmates.
Yeah.
On there, 2019, NiK Kacy, Soulmates. But I love this. I mean, it's so amazing how something, I mean, not necessarily as simple as shoes, but it's just something, it's footwear that we take for granted every day. It's just something we put on. But how it just bonded you to all these amazing people and really just, again, I think created something for a community that everyone has completely ignored, and these in the fashion community and design community, like you said, they're so set in such a gender, boy, girl, done mentality that they're like, they can't see anything outside of that could potentially just be for anyone and everyone. And I love that you're just really just taking that wall with a sledgehammer and just beating it down. And so kind of coming up to now what we have for next week, October 5th, from 6 to 10 p.m. at Montrose Hotel here in West Hollywood. We're going to have the first ever, right?
Yeah.
First ever Equality Fashion Week, LGBTQAI+ Fashion Week, dedicated specifically for just the community at large with all of it. So how did this come about? Because this is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's huge. It's monumental in that I can't even believe it's happening.
Right.
And let alone that we basically had like 5 weeks to put it together.
The fact that you guys put it together in like almost less than a month, like you do not do that for a fashion show.
I know, and it's kind of crazy, but I also believe like I'm a doer.
Yes.
I don't just dream, like I do. And so when Montrose, they have spent $15 million renovating their hotel.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah. And it is gorgeous, and the staff there is amazing. And they really, they've been around for a long time, but like not that many people really knew about it. They were kind of like a hidden secret.
Well, and it's funny you mention that because so they're owned by a few other hotels. The Park is one of them. Petit Hermitage, they're all in that, and the other three as well are very secluded. They're tucked away. You really don't know they're even there, and they're kind of like this best kept secret of WeHo, which I love. And I love that you chose them because first of all, it was the first hotel.
They chose me.
They chose you.
Yeah, let me tell you the story.
Oh yeah, okay, we better story time.
Yeah, so the story's really good because it started out with they were gonna, basically have this rebrand and celebrate this.
The launch, right.
And so they hit me up and was like, we're thinking about doing an event, and we heard about you, and we thought, would you like to participate?
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, that's great. Like, how did you hear about me? And so we started having this discussion about like, what kind of event we can do. And then the more we talked about it, I kind of realized like, this is a really great opportunity to, if you want to give back to the community, don't make it just a one-night deal.
Right.
Like, think bigger.
Think annual.
Exactly. Right. So I was like, think a week. Think giving opportunity to designers to actually sell their stuff.
Right.
Think about getting press there to elevate the community, create visibility for them.
Right.
get access for them to resources that they normally wouldn't be able to access. You know,
especially like media, especially attention like that. They do not get that
we don't,
at all.
We don't, you know, and as a designer who's done, I think, like 6 fashion shows already.
Wow.
Across, I mean, from U.S. even Toronto.
Right.
And it's like, it's great because we're always doing these awesome fashion shows, and it's like queer and it's cool, but when it's a queer fashion show, normally, press is not there.
Oh, mainstream is it's either local, it's either LGBT specific,
exactly.
and again, it's nothing against it. It's just usually smaller.
Right, and so we're just constantly preaching to the choir.
Right.
Which is beautiful because our community is here for us. And
right.
I love the choir, right?
It's a beautiful choir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
but
choir.
At some point, in order to elevate the community, we
right.
have to go beyond that, right?
Right.
And
exactly.
So I kind of pitched it to them and was like, hey, this is an idea I've had for a few years. Just never had the ability to do it.
Right.
Would you be into doing this instead for your celebration? And they loved it. Yeah, they loved it. They're like, okay, let's see if we can get this approved.
Wow.
And you know, it took like over a month, I think, almost to get it approved.
Wow.
But when they did, I was like, all in, let's do this, you know?
Wow.
But it also meant that we have like 5 weeks.
Yeah. Just like, we're gonna run and run hard to get this done.
So we marathoned it.
Wow.
Like, not marathon, we sprinted?
Yeah, sprinted.
Yeah.
Sprinted a marathon. That's what they did.
Yeah.
They ran a marathon in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's just, again, it's pulling all this together. And then some of the people you have, let's see, Sharp Suiting, Hologram City, obviously NiK Kacy Footwear, FemHaus, I'm gonna butcher it. I'm not gonna butcher the last name. Dapper Boy, Studio Clothing. I mean, again, lots of stuff we recognize here, but the fact that they're getting a platform to really showcase and shine in a public light like this, I mean, it's just amazing. And when you were approaching the designers and other people to be participants in this, had you guys already had conversations before, or had you guys ever discussed this before?
No, it was basically like, I didn't want to get anyone's hopes up until I knew that this was going to be approved.
Gotcha.
Got the green light, and then was like frantically, I was in Montreal Pride at the time.
Wow.
So I started frantically like emailing, calling everybody, and be like, I know everyone's, well, you know, New York Fashion Week, Dapper Q is amazing, has this amazing fashion show for the LGBT community every year for the past few years.
It's actually pretty big. I mean, it's massive.
I was in it 2 years ago.
Wow.
And like, or was it last year? I don't even remember.
It was.
Yeah, I can't remember because you know.
She's like, I slept since then. It's like.
My preferred pronoun is
they. I'm so sorry about that. Yeah, sorry. They and them.
Yeah.
Correct.
But like, you know, Anita, who does Dapper Q, is such a huge inspiration because that fashion show really set the bar for me of like, this is the kind of fashion show all queer fashion shows should be like.
Okay.
You know? And so all of the other ones that I've done are also amazing in their own right.
Mm-hmm.
But to have that kind of platform where you're in a really mainstream venue, Brooklyn Museum.
What's true, right.
Like really get the recognition, the visibility, right? And it was surprising to me that LA didn't have one. And considering the fact that so many of the queer designers that I've shown with in all these other queer shows are from LA, it's like, why don't we have one?
Well, and the only thing that's ever been remotely close has been Marco when he does his show during LA Fashion Week. But it's such a small part.
But most queer designers don't have the access that Marco has to be able to afford the money to be in those shows. Right. The other closest thing is the Garris Fashion Show, which the Trans Latina Coalition does every year, and it's an amazing fashion show, which I'm a huge supporter of. And in fact, my fashion show is trying to raise money for the Trans Latina Coalition because I believe in them so much.
Fantastic.
And I want this to be a platform that connects to them. You know, that theirs is in November. You know, so I want everyone to go to the Garris Fashion Show, you know.
Would you know when in November?
I forget what day, but I can definitely send it.
Okay. Well, and we'll keep you guys up to date on that for that. We'll put it in our what's happening for
I went last year. It's amazing. All of the designers in the Garris show is amazing. All the models are amazing. Bambi's amazing.
Oh, I love Bambi.
So
amazing.
I definitely highly recommend that. But you know, but that's still just one night.
Right.
You know, and I want something that was going to have more longevity in the sense of not only just show your stuff, but be able to sell your stuff.
Right, and that's the big thing too. Is, I mean, it's great and all being able to put on the show.
Yeah.
But getting people to come up and pay actual money to that is phenomenal. And again, it's being able to make this potentially an annual event really, again, put this kind of whole mark on the LGBT community, fashion community. It's phenomenal. I'd like to get your opinions because it's kind of been a lot of talk lately for during New York Fashion Week. For when Marco did his full collection 7 with it. What was your, like, when you heard the announcement about, what was your initial, thank you very much, what was your initial response when you saw that? Were you just kind of like floored, or you just kind of like, just, yes, thank you?
Yeah, I mean, my initial reaction was like, oh my god, yes.
Like finally.
Yes, right. Part of me was like, God, I wish I was there, you know?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And I actually asked him to be in this show, but he was there at the time, so he was so busy.
Yeah.
And, you know,
I can only imagine.
Yeah, so I didn't want to keep bugging him. But, you know, it was phenomenal to see that kind of representation. And he really had some really amazing models that were really well known, too.
Yeah.
You know, and to have that kind of access and that kind of platform is truly inspirational for the rest of us who don't get to see that very often.
And I think and that's also what Marco does so well is he's just a celebration of body in general, whatever shape, form, type, age, everything in between. He is so good at just accentuating what just expression is, and I really love how he does that. And especially this, I mean, he just, again, accentuated body. And again, these happen to be trans models, but it's all, again, just saying, hey, it's just giving them a platform and just doing what I do best and showing that these bodies are all beautiful, these bodies are all just everyday bodies that we get to be with. And it's so, like, it was just so natural, I feel like, and how he presented it. It was just, it's an amazing fashion show with amazing models, and it was just great. And awesome for the transgender community to get this platform to really kind of, like you said, just say, finally, you're giving us the recognition that we're just do everything like everyone else, and we're here to be represented just like everyone else, which is fantastic. And for this going forward, do you feel like you can see more and more a mentality change in the industry of people not really looking at you, whether you're boy, girl, trans, they're really just looking at you, or do you fit as a model in what I'm looking for in my collection? Do you see a change?
I have been seeing changes already. I think even like in our community of models, seeing how a lot of the models now who are, you know, more androgynous can pose for both male roles and female roles, right? And I think that's already starting to, I mean, sometimes I'm conflicted because it almost feels like a trend.
Okay.
You know, like where
it's a phase kind of thing.
Yeah, like it's a fad to have this, you know. And I hope, you know, truly, genuinely, that it's not just a fad, that it's actually because people's mentalities are changing.
Right.
And that certainly is the goal, right, for everyone. If we can change everyone in the world to think that way, we probably wouldn't have half the problems that we have.
Well, and you're starting to see it more, I think, especially the generation even like under us, and it's just this younger generation coming into where I mean, I think it was the stat was like almost 30% of LGBT youth in the greater Los Angeles community identify as gender fluid or gender non-binary or some aspect of not genderless identity, and I feel more and more we're progressively getting to that point of we're not seeing your A or B or somewhere in between. It's just like you are you, however you choose to express or identify as such. We are here to support. And I really feel like it's itching, it's just slowly going forward, but it is there, and I do feel like it's coming a little bit better. For anything else you want to plug going in with what's doing this, because I mean, you did an amazing stuff with your activism. You are so involved in this community right here. You actually did a documentary called It Does Get Better, which really helped awareness, kind of promoting visibility through through your brothers and sisters and allies. What was the reasoning behind the documentary, and then kind of like how that kind of progressed as well for you? Again, promoting the fact of gender equality and gender neutrality for everyone, just kind of being like, we're here.
Yeah, I mean, that project was really kind of a side project that came about because that was during, you know, the phase when it gets better, you know, what's happening, and there was all these suicides with like, our you know, queer youth, and it was just so heartbreaking. And I felt like, not just because a lot of other people were doing these videos, and you have all these celebrities who are doing videos, and I felt like, but you know, if I was a little kid in, you know, some town that didn't have access seeing some famous person say like it gets better, it's not really gonna make me feel better.
No,
right?
exactly. Yeah. And first of all, it's such a pipe dream of saying like,
exactly,
oh yeah, I'm like a $5 million a year kind of person. Like that, there's no relatability on any part of that.
I didn't feel like that was relatable for me.
Right.
So let alone like some kid, you know. And so when I moved here from New York, I growing up, I didn't know there were resources like the center, right? So when I moved here and like learned about the center, I was like, holy shit, you know, like, amazing. And so I think that's why when I decided to do this project, it was really about like reaching out to my community.
Gotcha.
Again, like for me, it's always about the community.
Right.
And I just invited people to tell their story.
Right.
And wanted to be relatable and regular people in my community that I actually have access to.
Right.
Or you could introduce your friend.
Right.
And it just all of a sudden became like 17 people that somehow never really knew each other before, and then became like this family because we all shared our stories together.
Yeah.
And like it was just really, I mean, life-changing for me to hear everyone's stories, and whether they were trans, bi, gay, lesbian, everything.
Right.
Like it was the entire spectrum.
Right.
And seeing the commonality of their stories.
Right.
And tying it all together, you know, and that at the end of the day it's just about like not giving up and believing in yourself and understanding like if you stay true to who you are and you stay authentic, you're gonna attract the people who will love you for it.
Right, the real people that will respect and treat you as the way you want to be treated, and it's so true. And I really like, I mean, you're all about just making families everywhere. I love this. I mean, it's so beautiful because I do feel so many times in our own community we do tend to get really segregated and really siloed in our own specific identifiers, and it's like the gays are here, lesbians here, the bisexuals here, the trans, and I feel like it's getting better. It's getting to where those lines are starting to be less and less identified and really kind of set aside. But I feel like first we need to really kind of check ourselves in our own community and look at like, we need to stop labeling ourselves to death, identifying ourselves to death. Just if someone chooses to identify a certain way, accept it, move on. And I think we need to figure this out better on our end before we can expect the rest of the world to kind of get on board with us as well.
And a lot of that I think is also like, you know, something that my experience is that a lot of it is taking the time to educate.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, completely.
And I think that sometimes a lot of people complain like, oh, you know, so even though they're in the community, still doesn't understand what non-binary and like gender non-conforming and trans and all of these things, and like not using the right terminology and things like that. Well,
yes.
If we are a little bit more accepting and forgiving about those little things and just take the time to help correct them.
Right.
Like the way I just corrected.
Yeah, exactly.
I know it's not intentional and I know it didn't offend me.
Right.
But just taking even to simply just be like, hey, a reminder.
It's it's those subtle reminders and those and again, we learned this when we did the Trans Can Work seminar. I mean, it's again, give them some time to understand, process, allow people to make mistakes, learn from your mistakes. There does come a point where you're just like, okay, listen, you're just being an asshole, and you need to check yourself. But I mean, you're right. It's again getting that education. The first time I ever had to ask someone about understanding what being a transgender individual was, what the whole idea was behind that, and their mentality from start to finish and their transition. I had to sit my friend down and go, I need you to help me understand what you are going through, because again, I cannot understand mentally because I'm not in that headspace. I am not living you and being your skin. I do not understand you. And so that's what you need to do. Do not be afraid to ask your friend, could you please help me understand? I want to learn more. I want to be able to respect you, but also understand in a better way of how you choose to either express, identify, or everything in between. And I feel you're exactly right. The more we just sit down with each other, have that conversation, and really just kind of like, and again, the simple things is like, hey, just so you know, this is how I choose to have this is my pronoun, this all that stuff. The easier it's like, oh, sorry about that, move on. Don't make an issue of it with all of it. And I feel like we're just like we're struggling so much with ourselves, and it's just like we're getting there so much better. But it's definitely like that for sure. And it's so amazing because it's such a simple thing to do. It takes all of like 5-10 minutes, a cup of coffee, go to the big gay Starbucks, go figure it out there as well. Let's see, I know I had I wanted to talk about some of your work with youth, because you did bring up LGBT youth as well with the center. And if anyone hasn't been to the LGBT center, oh my gosh, the resources they have, the volunteerism they have over there is phenomenal. And again, I was the same way. I did not realize all these different organizations were readily available, like Trevor Project. APLA, AHF, LGBT Center, all these different resources are here for our community to really help us connect with people that are struggling, that need help. What has been one of your favorite aspects of working with LGBT youth and really kind of passing on your knowledge, passing on as an example to this new generation coming in of being able to not be afraid to express themselves, not be afraid or ashamed of being who they are and being true to their identity? What has been your kind of fun experience with being able to work with youth like that?
Well, I mean, I started volunteering at like LifeWorks.
Okay.
Long time ago. Like this was like maybe 15 years ago.
So when she was 20, yeah. 20 when they were 20.
Yeah. I'm actually much older than I look, but I'm Asian, so you know, Asian don't raise it. Right?
Oh my gosh! I've never heard that before. That's so funny.
But in my more recent time, you know, being able to incorporate like donating stuff to like, the closet, the community closet at the center for the youth. You know, I think the biggest thing for me is understanding from my own experience as a kid, not being able to wear clothes that help me express myself authentically. Understanding that there's still so many, you know, queer youth that don't have access to these things, and I know that my products aren't affordable for them. You know, and maybe it might not be affordable for certain segments of our community, but there are those of us in our community who can afford things to support LGBTQ businesses and donate to these centers that provide for those who don't have. And I think it's really important. Like I even told my mom, I was like, donate all your clothes that you don't wear, you know, because I know lots of trans women would love it. You know, because my mom's a fashionista. So,
so she's got tons of
stuff.
Oh
god, so much stuff. But you know, that's the thing is like being able to connect with the youth who, you know, you inspire them. You get to make such a difference to them because they're usually at these centers because their parents have kicked them out. They have no resources, you know, except for these centers and each other. And a lot of them end up working on the streets, doing drugs because they don't really have any options. And so I feel like it's our duty to, you know, our responsibility to do our part to help them.
And a lot of people don't realize, I mean, especially, and again, as progressive as Los Angeles is, and our overall community around here in this county, I mean, there's almost 8,000 youth that are homeless, and a decent portion of that are LGBT identified youth that family, religion, all that stuff, as soon as they came out and were discovered and have been kicked out. And it's, again, it is such a heartbreaking statistic to have here, and somewhere you would hope it'd be as progressive and understanding, but I mean, you never know with some of these people. And so, especially the center, if you can ever volunteer, I mean, it's such an easy thing to do. It takes such little time out of your week or your day to really give back and really, again, help someone who feels like they've been abandoned by the world and that no one truly loves them. And blood is not thicker than water, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I can attest to that from my own personal experiences, but seriously, your family is who you make your family with, and especially people like this that need just love. I mean, it's such an easy thing to do. And I love that you brought up LGBT owned and run businesses too, because you are now officially on the board of the Los Angeles Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce, which does a ton of work for helping businesses become LGBT certified as LGBT owned and run businesses. You are a certified business as well with that. What are some of the different things as an LGBT owned and run business that the Chamber does that really kind of help highlight or connect them with other businesses as well?
Yeah, well, the Chamber, you know, is the LA Chamber is actually one of the larger chambers nationally.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So there is a there's a national LGBT chamber organization.
Correct. Yeah, and it's phenomenal. I went to the conference last year for the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce
in Vegas.
And you know, it was amazing. Like I've never. Like it reminded me of the first time I was in like San Fran Pride. And you like are in Dolores Park and you like go over that hump and you look at the sea of like queers, right?
It's just they're everywhere.
And that's what I felt like at this conference, except these were all queer business owners.
Professionals.
Like myself, who have, you know, taken the dive and was like, I'm gonna do this. And, you know, are there. And then like it was such a proud moment when you're like, yeah, this is like how we're slaying it.
Yeah.
You know, like we have to take the world by storm and create our visibility by being business owners,
right.
creating products and services, and and we can show how amazing we are by providing better services.
Right.
I mean, there's just so many ways that we can create our visibility.
Anything you can do, we can LGBT better.
Exactly, I love that. Exactly.
But it is. I mean, and I've been to a couple of these things where you, like, especially the Mega Mixer every year for the Los Angeles Gay Lesbian,
which is coming up
in October.
I forget what day.
Marquita's gonna kill me. I'll look it up, and I've shared it out already, so it's on. I go to gaylifela.com and you can see it. It is on there. I know that is on there. But again, that's over 300 plus individuals representing all different facets of business. Yeah. And it's so amazing to see that it's like people so many times do not realize gay business doesn't have to be something blatantly gay or lesbian or bisexual or trans. It is so different and so vast. And it's something as simple sometimes as like they're a financier or they help you out.
A furniture store.
Oh, exactly.
Charles Jacobson.
Exactly. And they just happen to be LGBT owned and run. Or managed, or all that, and they just have a very. It is so amazing to me that, like you said, it's this pride I have in my community of being able to see these people that, like you said, I mean, just really just like pounding out for the community. That just, it's beautiful. And if you ever get a chance to go and be a part of these, be a part of the Gay Lesbian Chamber here in Los Angeles. Be a member. Support. Again, it's a great way to support other owned and operated businesses. And the chamber, when you get LGBT certified, can connect you with other businesses and maybe potentially get you corporate contracts.
Exactly.
And
that's what I was trying to get into next.
Corporate contracts. Stuff like that.
Like they have so many resources and workshops, and they bring in different corporate companies that have apparently there's these budgets, right? That
diversity budgets.
Budgets where it's for certified businesses, whether they're women-owned or LGBT certified,
or minorities, or all different stuff like that.
And like a lot of times they don't get used because not enough businesses are certified. Right. So that's why I keep telling everyone, if you're queer and you have a business, get certified because you might have access to these budgets that you normally wouldn't.
And money that goes unused every year, and it's just like, I mean, there's so many, and a lot of people don't know, especially, and it doesn't have to be during just gay pride, or it doesn't have to be during some sort of queer festival or queer related event. It can be a year-round partnership with these businesses to really, again, show that you provide just as good of a service as anyone else in the room, and it just, by the way, you just happen to be LGBT. Who knew? But it is. I mean, it's such an amazing. Go check them out. It's laglcc.org. You can see so much amazing work with that. NiK, I want to thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, phenomenal. Make sure you guys will pay attention here. You can go to NiK Kacy. It's Kacy, N-I-K. Ooh, I almost did that. N-I-K, not C-K. N-I-K, because I've been messing it up all day. So NiK, you go check it out with nickkacy.com, as well as following them on all their social media handles. Again, at NiK Kacy, and keep in touch because
at NiK Kacy Footwear.
Oh, NiK Kacy Footwear.
Equality Fashion Week.
Equality Fashion Week. Oh my gosh.
I really want everyone to go to all the pop-ups. So we have 4 days of pop-up events.
What's the first day starts on?
So October 6th, which is a Saturday. So it's the day after the fashion show.
Gotcha.
That's where everyone, like the general public, has access to these hosted wine bar at the Montrose Tone Lounge.
Oh wow.
And it's amazing because like they're giving us space to set up basically booths for all of our designers to like meet and greet, chat with people who want to learn about their process, buy their merchandise, support their business, listen to great music, and sip on wine.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. So it's from the 6th to the 10th.
To the 9th.
Oh, to the 9th.
6th to the 9th.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and then each day is different. So check equalityfashionweek.com for the pop-up schedule.
Fantastic.
Because every day is going to be different designers. There's a day that's all the performers are going to be there.
Oh, fantastic.
Because sometimes you want to learn about their process too and like hang out with them.
Well, and again,
buy their merchandise.
It's an amazing industry as well too, with all that is, and again, so much involved for queer fashion, for queer individuals, and it's just a great way to support your community and really give back to these designers that really do not have platforms like the regular people do, and that on a day-to-day the regular people the day-to-day, and it's just like it's so disappointing that we do not support our community more and really get out there and show it. So it's this kickoff is October 5th from 6 to 10 p.m. You can go check that out over for fashion or Equality Fashion Week, and really pay attention to them at equalityfashionweek.com to make sure you follow all that information. RSVPs will be opening up soon. So stay tuned. We're not going to tell you when because you won't know because you have to watch.
Yeah. So follow Equality Fashion Week on Instagram, and we'll be posting the moment we know that we're allowed to.
Yeah. The moment they got their RSVP count.
Yeah.
You will be the first to know when you can RSVP. So check that out. Again, follow NiK Kacy all over social media at NiK Kacy Footwear, and that's Kacy. And you can go check them out over all that stuff, which is amazing. And again, thank you so much for being here and really giving us a really amazing look into design and fashion and something that's just something so fun. And I am gonna get one of these leg numbers, by the way. So I'm gonna look something fierce. I don't know what I'm putting in it yet, but I will find out later. We want to give a special thank you to GayLifeLA.com as well as Kings Road Apartment Homes. And again, if you have any other questions you want to know about how to get involved with the community or anything like that, you can always reach out to us online or DM, IM, or Insta, everything in between. So we want to thank you guys for tuning in as well. Have a great rest of the week, and thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Bye. I'm going to get up here and turn to this because Brad left me. So.